Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Coffee with Coaches podcast. I almost said good morning. It's morning for us when we're recording, but good day to you, whatever time you're listening to this. I'm your usual host, Kevin, who's always very hyper conscious of his time zone, I guess. And today I have with me Dr. James O. Rodgers. James has practiced diversity management as an enterprise performance tool for over 35 years. In addition to his current role as executive coach to C-suite executives, Dr. Rodgers serves as director of the Executive Academy of ITSMF, which, in case you're not up on all of your acronyms these days, stands for Information Technology Senior Management Forum. His mission is, quite simply, quote, to build leaders of color for a changing world. James, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I'm really glad you're here.
My pleasure, Kevin. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Let's start at the start. We'll begin at the beginning. How did you get your start as a coach? And I usually ask this kind of as a two-part question where there's usually this moment of discovery where someone realizes that they already are a coach, or they're already doing the things that make a good coach. And then they make a decision to go about pursuing that as their life's work or as a business. How did you get your start?
So, surprisingly enough, I've always been called coach, even when I was in a corporate executive, when I was managing teams. Someone on the team would invariably say, okay, coach, we got it. And I puzzle and say, what's that about? Even when we were in recreation, I remember one time we were playing volleyball and I just couldn't help myself. Everybody knows what you do in volleyball. You dig, you set, you spike. And every time the ball came to our side, I would say, okay, dig, set, spike. And I'd be just reminding people of stuff that I knew they already knew. And that really is kind of foundation of my coaching philosophy. But then, of course, I met Marshall Goldsmith when I was the head of a corporate university. And he was one of our speakers. And of course, I consider him the father of modern executive coaching. Mm-hmm. And so after I started my management consulting practice, I noticed again, when I was working with C-suite executives on human capital issues, they'd all call me coach. And so I said, there must be something about my persona that speaks to coaching. And so I, in addition to advising and counseling them, I would always coach them and tell them, you know this, we've already talked about this. So while you were speaking, why didn't you do this? What was the blind spot that caused you not to do this? What was the trigger that caused you to say what you said? And so it just became a natural part of who I am. And so I tell people that I'm not certified. I'm not taught to be a coach. I am a coach. That's just who I am. And so I just acknowledged that and began coaching practice primarily with C-suite, VP and above level people. Helping them to be at their best, to be even more effective. And it's that I tell people I don't coach people who need mentoring help. I coach superstars. I coach the Michael Jordans of the corporate environment. I'm trying to help them to get out of their way and be the best they possibly can be.
I love that. I love that realizing that it's much more of a sort of discovering an identity where it's like, oh, it's not that I'm going to become this. I am this. And once you realize that, and also I love the way that you positioned it as almost just like you're not putting something in that isn't already there. You're helping someone to maybe not even discover it, but they maybe even know it's there, but they don't know how to access it, or they don't know exactly how to really bring it out of themselves and manifest it in the world in a way that's going to, help people and do the things they want to do. And that's that just nails right on the head what a coach is really all about, that guidance. It's going to tell you what you already know, but you need to hear it. And you need to hear it from someone you trust. I love that.
Good. And so by the way, someone you trust quite often is yourself. One of the things that I've discovered in my coaching practice is I tell my clients all the time, I'm not going to answer your question. I'm going to question your answers. I'm going to drive you to think deeper so that you can solve your own problems. And quite often what they will do is say the most profound things. And it'll cause me to stand back and say, wow, that was deep. And they'll just dance right past it like they never said it. I say, so part of what I do, usually I say, would you stop? Let's pay attention to what you just said. Make a note of that. That was a really wise thing that you just said. Now, if you would act on that, then the problem that we're talking about today would probably go away. So quite often they have the answers and they will even speak the answers and they won't even recognize what they've said. So part of the coach's job is to catch you being wise and to catch you in your own wisdom and reminding you, this is what you know.
I have this, but immediately the image of the hand in the cookie jar, like just getting caught being wise. I love that, because there really is a playful aspect to the relationship between a coach and someone being coached, where you're really just figuring things out together. And there's a lot of fun and really genuine joy to be had in those moments of discovery where you're just like, hey, wait a minute, that was fantastic. Let's say that again. Say that again.
Yeah.
Say it one more time.
And that's what it feels like.
I love that. And also I really, really love that I don't answer your questions, I question your answers. That is you. Every 30 to 45 seconds, you're laying these lines of wisdom on me that I'm just like making mental note of, like, real quick, surreptitiously writing it down. I'm like, it's fantastic. Yeah. Oh, I love that so much.
Good stuff.
Let's talk a little bit more about who you coach today and also how you coach them. That's kind of how I usually ask the question, because everybody obviously has their focus, the people that they focus on coaching. And in your case, it's C-suite executives. And I'm sure there are other people that you have coaching influence on or a coaching relationship with. And then also kind of following up with that, how you coach them. I know a lot of coaches at the very least start and tend to center their coaching on the one-to-one relationship, but there's always sometimes small group coaching or like executive team coaching or masterminds or even like keynote speeches. So who do you coach and how do you coach them these days?
So in my new role as the director of the Executive Academy of ITSMF, this is one of the first times that I've done a large group coaching process, because I am using the same principles with that group to drive them to understand what it takes to get to the C-suite, as opposed to being the technical expert or the superior manager, how to be a leader at the executive level. And I have found it quite rewarding to share the principles without lecturing at all. It's quite often that I get a feedback from one of the participants that says, Dr. Rodgers, I love when you said X, Y, and Z. And I said, I didn't say that. That was someone else in your class. Because my job is to bring out their wisdom again, is to ask the right questions so that they dig deeper. So who do I coach normally on a one-on-one basis? It is C-suite, executive VP level and above. And that's because that's kind of the level that I know. I know how to run an enterprise. I've been a former executive myself, and I know what's important to do that. But here's what I do. Before I will accept a coaching client, I vet them carefully. And I vet them with one very serious questions. Who do you think you are? So I ask them, look inside and say, here are my strengths, here are my weaknesses, and here are my gifts. Here are the things that I bring to the table. And the reason I do that is because I want them to understand that in the course of our coaching, we're going to identify some behaviors, and we do behavioral change coaching. We're going to identify some behaviors that you might want to address. And by knowing who you are, you will figure out this one's going to be hard. That's just not who I am naturally. Or this one's going to be easy. All I have to do is switch the switch on this one, and I can just easily go back to being naturally who I am. So I asked them profound questions like that, and the entire time that we're together, it's about me asking questions. I remember one time I was with Marshall, and he was telling me that out of what he had learned and what I have learned also is that the key to an effective coaching relationship is more about the coachee than it is the coach. So I'm very careful about who I select to be coached. They have to be someone who is ready, willing, and able. They're ready to be coached because they realize they need something to kind of break them out of their bad habits. As human beings, we all get into bad habits, but that doesn't diminish the fact that we really know what to do. We are really good at what we do. And the other thing, just to put a pin in this, is that most executives, and most people are surprised by this, suffer from what we call the imposter syndrome. The reason I ask them, who do you think you are? Because quite often they're questioning, why are they putting me in this position? Isn't there someone who's really qualified to do it? And I always tell them, and at the end of it, is it possible that other people see something in you that you don't yet see in yourself? So I drive them to see in themselves what makes them a candidate for CEO, what makes them a candidate for the chief strategy officer. Why would someone select them to do that big job with them thinking, but I'm just Mary Lou's little boy, or I'm just Uncle Joe's favorite niece. So it's really about the human to human connection, understanding the things that we go through as human beings and how to help move us past those artificial barriers that we have to being at our best.
I find myself at both a loss for words and an overabundance of words. I feel like there's like 12 different paths I would love to continue on. You have a very, and this is to the surprise of no one, I imagine, who's met you for 5 minutes. You have a very eloquent and right to the point way of communicating very deep and powerful concepts. But in a very accessible way. Like I feel very comfortable and also like activated. But there's one thing I love. I loved a lot of what you said, but there's one thing I loved in particular is how careful you are choosing who you coach. And then the way that you explained it, I feel like is perfect. And it's become one of the pillars of this podcast. It's just like raising up all different kinds of coaches, all different kinds of voices, because the right coach at the wrong time is the wrong coach. Yep. And it's really important. And I love so many coaches I talk to are careful about that because they understand that the coach might not be the right person for what a coachee needs. Yep. And they might know someone who is, which is why I love the entire coaching industry, because there's this, for the most, almost without exception that I can think of, there's just this general desire to find the right fit and serve in the right way at the right time for the most possible good. And everybody's really out just to kind of serve this rising tide of helping people and, letting people know that there are coaches that can help them figure out the things they need to figure out, or, question the right answers. I love that you are very deliberate and very focused on that.
Yeah. So it's important for me because, like you said, the right coach at the right time is essential to helping us to be our best. One of the things that is two of my superpowers that I acknowledge is I have the capacity to summarize and simplify. Now, I didn't come up with that language. I was responding to a question in a conference at one time, and a young lady came up to me afterwards and said, "You have a remarkable ability to summarize and simplify complex stuff." And I said, "Okay, I'll make note of that." But it's also important for me that a person be ready. I talk about ready, willing, and able, that a person be ready for the right coaching. So that's why, people talk about the coachee is going to vet the coach. Do I want this person to be my coach? Well, I'm confident enough in my capability to know that I'm a darn good coach. What I have to do is choose the right coachee. So part of my skill set is determining and going through, because people will tell you whatever they think you want to hear. So I have to be able to look past that and say, what's really going on with this person? So I ask them even deeper questions. And to the extent that they don't have answers to them, sometimes that will be a disqualifier. And I just tell them, not that you're a bad person, but this is not a good match. You're not the type of person that I find that I'm most successful at when I'm coaching. So you may need a more, someone else. So it's not a put down, but it's really important. That relationship, that coach and coachee relationship, is as important as a manager-employee relationship. It is really critical for whoever is in that relationship for them to be successful, both the coach and the coachee.
Well said. Once again. We're already, I feel this urge to just kind of keep you on and be greedy with your time, because you are a delight to speak with. But I want to make sure we let the audience know where they can find out more about you, where they can learn more about you, where they could connect with you. If you have like a social media or like some place where you'd like to be found, so people can get to know you, see if you're a good fit, let them expose themselves to you to see if they're a good fit for you, or just learn more about you.
Well, two places I would point to is I'm very active on LinkedIn. So you can find me there under Coaching Strategist. And on my website called The Diversity Coach. An interesting story behind that is I'm considered a thought leader in the field of diversity and inclusion. It's one of the specialties that I have as a management consultant. But why did I come up with the term diversity coach? I didn't. My clients gave me that. Because while I was supporting them on diversity and inclusion, the CEO would quite often say, oh, there he is, there's my coach. And so I just adopted that moniker. And it is one of the ways that I distinguish myself in the marketplace, because I don't just try to educate you about the possibilities and the value of diversity and inclusion. I also coach you in executing it.
Mm. And that's really the name of the game, isn't it? It's not just about, reading a book or watching a seminar on diversity. It's about figuring out and being coached and learning how to put that into action. Because without the action, it's just words.
Absolutely right, Kevin. Absolutely right.
Man, yeah. Okay, I'm going to not be greedy, and thank you for your time today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for talking with us. I personally am very grateful, and I feel confident that our audience will be as well. Thank you, James.
Well, thank you, Kevin, and let's be greedy again sometime, okay?
Let's be greedy again. Man, I'm going to have to listen back to this one and take notes.
All right. Thank you, my friend. Take care of yourself.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.